it's a privilege to be here at the National Cyber Security Conference, and yeah, it's there. And discussing on the theme, which is very, timely and critical from the perspective of, what the landscape is today. Um, yeah, I have it. Yes. Okay. So, yeah, it works. Okay. So. We have been talking about this IT, about cybersecurity not being an IT problem. But today, if you look at it, it is a business problem. It is also increasingly becoming a national security problem as well, right? Now, when we look at overall data perspective, it is an economic asset as well as a competitive advantage for organizations in terms of what data they have, what do they do with the data and all that. And there comes certain responsibility in terms of how you deal with data and all that, right? Increasingly, it is also becoming a sovereign asset of the nation as well. When we look at the overall data perspective, and all the regulations or laws or acts that are coming in, the most talked about DPDPA, built around how you manage data and how you process data within the country, right? Now, if you look at key shifts that we see in the leadership perspective from the cyber perspective is moving from reactive to predictive. In somewhere in between, it was a proactive, but today it is more about how do you predict things in terms of how the incidents will happen, what do we look at the data perspective and all that, and then how are we prepared to predict if there are certain issues that may come up or incidents that may come in, right, in terms of the data perspective or the cybersecurity incidents and all that, right? Now, if you look at, there's a lot of compliance aspects for many organizations today, whether it is BFSI sector, if you look at DPDPA, which is more a industry agnostic. So we have to move from compliance centric to more trust-driven kind of an cybersecurity ecosystem. If you look at, a lot of technologies are coming in picture as, we try to handle cybersecurity as a practice, or whether looking at data, securing data or managing data across the organization. The focus has to shift from, technology centric to, more outcome centric. What outcome this technologies provide to you. There are many technologies, SEBI CSCRF talks about many technologies to be used. RBI talks about that. Now, we implement those technologies. However, what is the outcome of these technologies and how effective are these on ground in terms of managing the overall cybersecurity across the enterprise? I think these are the shifts that needs to be looked at by the cyber leadership as we move towards 2030. And there's a lot more technology aspects that will come in as we move forward. Now, let's talk about the reality, right? I mean, there are regulations today in terms of, across the industry sectors. DPDPA, which is the most recent one, which is a very, overarching data governance act. And if you look at, it is also very horizontal. It is not specific to a industry. Irrespective of industry or sector you are operating in, it is applicable. You look at RBI, which is governing the overall, banking cyber frameworks or ecosystem. Look at SEBI through CSCRF, which is Cybersecurity and Cyber Resilience Framework. It is governing the, overall continuous monitoring and control across the capital markets industry. And then you have IRDAI, again, governing the insurance and intermediaries. And then on top of that, you have CERT-In, which has specific, incident reporting requirements that have come up, right? Now, if organizations are not dealing with, one regulation, at least at a given point of time, any sector is dealing with, at least 2 regulations or 3 regulations, at a given point of time. And that becomes a leadership challenge in terms of how do we, because most of these regulations also have a lot of overlapping obligations. Now, how do we, look at and comply with this? On top of that, there are audits, periodic audits by regulators, internal audits, all of those audits keep coming in. Now, how do we, make this as a framework and harmonize the, requirements across the regulations, and create a prioritized framework in terms of meeting the requirements of the regulations, right? And then, for an example, if you look at DPDPA, which is more a purpose-driven and data-centric regulation. It talks about data minimization and erasure. At the same time, RBI mandates, retention of data for a certain period of time, right? And then you have SEBI CSCRF talking about continuous monitoring, validation, and demonstration of effectiveness. So similarly, all other regulations, are talking about all of this and how to govern this. For example, if DPDPA talks about erasure of data after the purpose is achieved, and then you have SEBI requirements to preserve data for 8 years minimum, and then how you basically build around your processes, how your technologies are basically interconnected in terms of to meet these objectives at a very specific, requirements coming in from different regulations and all that. Now that becomes a challenge for organizations, and there will be many more regulations that will come up as we talk about. There is talk about AI regulations coming in terms of regulating AI and all that, right? So all of this will create a ecosystem, multi-layered regulatory ecosystem within the organization to comply with, and that is going to be a bigger challenge as we move towards 2030 from cyber leadership perspective overall, right? Moving forward, as we know, DPDPA, the key aspect over here is, while many think, we need to have policies, procedures to manage certain aspects of DPDPA, whether it is consent, whether it is rights management, whether it is breach management and all that. But if you look at it, it is the key challenge here is how you implement your technologies to manage this. You cannot do this manually, and you cannot depend on policies to be defined and implemented across the organization. Your technologies, for example, a purpose-driven data, erasure, the once the purpose is achieved, how your purpose is for which you have obtained consent is cascaded within your technologies, business systems, your other technologies, how it cascades this information to other systems and help you to basically meet the requirements of data erasure or data retention, right? That is going to be a very big challenge. And I believe, DPDPA is not about, policy procedures. It's about technology. It's about architecture. It's about how you design your overall DPDPA compliance framework. And framework is not only in the Excel files or in the policy documents, but it is actually the heart of the framework is in your IT systems, your business applications, and overall. I mean, many of the organizations we know, they are retaining, at this stage, retaining data perpetually. They are not touching the data irrespective of when the data was obtained and all that, right? Now, what do we do with this, retrospective data? How do we identify where the purposes are achieved, where, there are regulatory requirements? So I think, this is going to be a very key challenge in terms of implementing. On top of that, you have other cybersecurity requirements, and, creating that harmonized framework is going to be a key aspect in terms of how organizations, comply with this overall regulatory ecosystem in terms of what the expectations of regulators are. Now, what does regulators expect, right? I mean, a key thing is, first of all, from the governance standpoint, they expect the board to own the cyber risk, right? I mean, I've been, presenting certain reports, audit reports and all that at the board level from many years now, and board has been active for many years. It is not just today, they have been active in the boardrooms from cybersecurity standpoint, but today what I see is they are getting to the deep level of, in fact, at the vulnerabilities and, talking about, asking about why these vulnerabilities are there and challenging the IT teams over there. So, it becomes very critical that boards own the cyber risk at the organization level. They provide strategic guidance as well to the IT team or ISG team and all that. And then it's also about CISO accountability, right? I mean, while CISOs are made accountable, but they also needs to be empowered. It cannot be a symbolic role for a CISO to basically represent as a CISO for an organization. And then if you look at overall control framework, now how effective are your controls? While we might have implemented NIST, ISO 27001, multiple frameworks have been adapted and implemented controls. But how we are confident enough that we will be able to demonstrate compliance to these controls, right? Now, from resilience perspective, incident response, I mean, there's a lot of technologies again come in between this SIEM orchestration, SOAR orchestration, and all of those aspects. Now, I've also seen the coverage within the SOC is only critical systems. Okay, but many organizations fail to understand. A hacker can come into your organization through a non-critical system, and then through lateral movement move to your critical systems and all that, right? So it becomes very critical in terms of how you design this overall framework from overall incident management perspective. What proactive and predictive steps you take in terms of how do you identify or detect how early you detect, how fast you respond, and then how quickly you recover with very limited impact on the organizations. Overall data protection, as I mentioned earlier, privacy is not about policy procedures. It's about how do you embed your privacy by design within your processes as well as within your technologies, right? A simple aspect, I mean, many professionals will overlook today is, while I implement all the controls to protect access to the systems which are processing personal data and all, but there are certain reports I can download, which has all the personal data of, say, from an HR system of all the employees and all that, right? So it has to go to that level in terms of what masking or what extractions from the applications also, or in form of reports and other artifacts, in terms of how do we restrict all of these aspects. So privacy by design has to be embedded within the systems, whether it is business applications or your overall technology aspect. And data security is across the life cycle. It is not only a data at rest or all of those things. It starts right from collecting or generating data through the life cycle, right up to archival or deletion of the data. So that will span across the overall life cycle of the data, and the controls have to be built around that. We have been doing data discovery, data classification for a very long time. It's nothing new today. But how effective are those classifications, and how your controls are designed to act in case of, if there is certain rule that is breached from a classification perspective, right? And then how do we label information as well? And finally, if you look at from assurance standpoint, all of the organizations have been undergoing frequent audits, internal, external, VAPTs and all that. The key aspect to look over here is, rather than complying once in a year VAPT requirement of a regulator, which is more, kind of a reactive approach. Okay, I need to conduct, because RBI says you have to conduct VAPT once in a year. Then you do this for a quarter, what happens to the 3 quarters, right? I mean, your systems, you don't know what is happening over there, right? So it has to be designed, in a way that, there is a continuous testing, there is a continuous, monitoring of the assets to understand, where do we, where are the vulnerabilities, and, how do we patch or fix them, right? And finally, it's about evidence-based compliance, right? If you can't provide evidence, if your controls cannot be measured, tested, or validated in the form of a evidence, in the eyes of regulator, that control does not exist, right? I mean, that is how regulators are taking it up. I mean, regulators have also moved to next level of auditing and all that, where very heavy scrutiny has been happening, especially in the financial services sector that we see, where they also have experts who do the audits. No longer they have people who are not technology savvy. They have people today who are technology savvy, and they can understand what evidence you are presenting and how this evidence is demonstrating compliance to the controls and all that, right? So that's from the regulator standpoint. Overall, from the as we move towards 2030, the key pillars of cybersecurity lies between these four pillars, right? If you look at strategy, as we talked about, board have to own the, you know, risk. You have to align your overall cyber strategy or, controls or frameworks overall from, business perspective as well as national risk perspective. Embed all your controls within the enterprise architecture. There's nothing like isolated controls that will work. All the controls have to work together to give you that outcome. Responsibility at the board level, CISO level, business level, very critical. If you look at DPDPA, the ownership of the data is or should be with the business, because business is the one who decides what to collect, what to do with the data, and what processing, or in short, they define what is the purpose of collection of this data and processing of this data. So there has to be some, ownership that has to be put to the business from that perspective. Other things like, IT who implements control, and then, vendors. Again, it's an extended enterprise that, vendors are driving today for organizations. If you look at DPDPA, all the obligations are for data fiduciaries or the organizations who are defining purposes of collection of data. There are no obligations on data processors, right? I mean, what it says is basically the onus is on the data fiduciaries to make sure that the data processors are also following the similar controls or practices, processes, or technology aspects as the data fiduciaries are following. Any incident or any breach that happens at the data processor side, ultimately, it is the data fiduciary who will be held responsible for that. So it becomes very critical. In today's world, especially where you don't have control on the data processor's IT environment, it becomes very critical. How do you make sure that, they are protecting the data that you are processing? And it's not only about security. The purposes for which you have collected, how do you know they are processing data only for the purposes that you have obtained consent for? There's no way you can identify today. All of those aspects will need to be built in. There has to be traceability between, what data is shared, how it is mapped to the consents, and what processing the data processors are doing. There are many areas that we can talk about. In fact, the one more area I would like to talk about is data deletion and retention, especially from your vendor's perspective. While you can implement controls within the organization, how do you ensure that the data is also erased at the data processor side, right? I mean, that becomes a very big challenge. Contractual obligations are preventive measures. However, what is happening on ground, you might have put everything in the contract, but if in practice they are processing for something else, and many of them are doing, then the risk increases over there. Overall resilience, it's a fact that everyone will be breached at some given point of time. We have to assume that breach mindset and work backwards in terms of what if there is a breach, and how do we detect that, and how do we respond to it, and how do we recover from it with minimal impact, right? That is going to be the key in terms of from resilience standpoint. Yes, we have spoken about data governance a lot about. Now, that's the 2030 technology stack. I mean, many of these technologies we are aware of, we have been using it. The question is about how effective it is. DPDPA adds a very, in terms of complex layer of technologies that DPDPA brings in. Whatever we have spoken, cannot be done manually from personal data perspective. It has to be, technologies have to talk to each other. They have to be intelligent enough to understand or designed in a way, the overall architecture as well as technologies, that they are able to meet your requirements from compliance standpoint, right? So something like consent management platform, it's, very early stage today, but yes, we're waiting for government to come up with the overall framework. But yes, as we are, working with our clients, we understand it's becoming quite complex in terms of when to obtain, where to obtain consent, and what consent to obtain, right? And then how it will tie back to your technologies for, cascading that within the technology landscape in terms of data retention and, processing based on purposes and all that. Yeah, I think a lot of tools, technologies are there in the market in terms of data protection impact assessment, breach management, data flows, data lineage. The key challenge is going to be which technology suits you based on your requirements. I believe there has to be a good evaluation in terms of evaluation of this technology, because these are new technologies. We are not used to these technologies. Even today, GDPR being in existence for many years now, even organizations in EU are facing challenges today itself. Forget about May 2027 guideline timeline to comply with this regulation. I'm sure May 2028 will be not enough for organizations to fully comply with this. So yeah, I think that's the overall technology stack that we look forward from overall 2020 perspective, 2030 perspective that we move forward. So overall, what the key aspect that needs to be looked at as we move towards 2030 from cyber leadership perspective is to move from compliance to capability perspective. Why compliance is a starting point, it is not the end goal. How do we build capabilities embedded within the overall framework, so that we not only comply but we also protect what we have. Unifying the overall frameworks, whatever frameworks are applying, applicable to the organizations, it is very critical, because there is a lot of overlap over there in terms of, how do we unify this framework and create a one unified framework to comply with, incorporating all the requirements from various regulations and, laws and all that. And then operationalizing the privacy is very critical aspect. While we will be defining policy procedures, but operationalizing that within the technology landscape is going to be a very key aspect of it. Overall resilience and aspects apart from regulatory requirements. There are a lot of incidents happening. We need to look at how resilient we are. How do we detect early, respond fastly, and then recover quickly is what needs to be looked at. Yeah. So overall, from a governance standpoint, the KPI aspects. How do we measure how technologies or processes or overall governance aspect is working properly, if there are any course correction that needs to be taken. So all the KPIs will also become very critical in terms of how do you monitor and measure these KPIs. And finally, human angle, while we can put in all the controls and all the processes in place, especially from DPDP standpoint, where in our culture, it's very prominent that we share a lot of personal information very easily. While sharing my personal information is my perspective, but at an organization level, how do we deal with your customers' personal information? How do you deal with your employee personal information? That is going to be the key, and overall awareness and making sure that organizations spread this awareness. It starts with that culture, and that is going to be the key aspect as we move forward. Yeah, I think that's the last. Yeah, yeah. I think we have a QR code. If you can just take some time out and fill in some responses to this. Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.